Richard Jovel, followed by Crystal Snyder. Snyder, excuse me.
Can they hear us?
Right. All right, there he is.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Good morning. Again, this morning I've read all through each one of these files, so I'm familiar with the probable cause sheet, risk assessment, court services notes, and other information in the file. I don't need you to recite the facts in the probable cause sheet. I'm interested in, at least from the state's perspective, failure to comply to appear and safety for the community. All right, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, the state's not going to object to releasing the defendant on his own recognizance. We did make further attempts to contact the victim, and I don't believe he's present here this morning. That own recognizance release is based on his lower risk assessment score of 5, and his criminal history is older. From 2009 was his last arrest, and I don't show any convictions. We would ask for pretrial supervision along with a no contact order per statute for 120 days with the victim, as well as a no firearms or weapons clause based on the underlying violence.
All right, I have the same thing in my JRO, but I have 2401 Harvard Way. Looks like 276, and then it would be Michelle Barkoff and Stephen Ogden. Is that what you have?
I have the victim's name is Dudgeon, Dudgeon, first of Stephen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can't even read my writing. Dungeon. And you have Michelle as well in the address?
Yes, Your Honor, she wasn't the exact victim. I mean, she was involved in the incident, but I know there's another domestic case pending, I believe, in Reno Municipal Court based on the same offense. So it would be appropriate. I just don't know that I have her address, but I can certainly get it.
All right. And did we able to confirm, and this is a question to the public defender, his address of 2300 Weaven Road, number 3?
Yes, Your Honor. We did talk to his parents, Linda, Maya, and they confirmed that's the address.
He can reside there, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so that's where you're gonna have to reside. That's the other condition. All right, you can't go back to the address, protected address, and those two parties. Other than that, you'll be released. All right, sir. You have a good day.
Thank you.
All right, next is Crystal. All right. Looks like we have an arraignment for Crystal. Has she read her complaint and she waived a formal reading?
Judge, we'll waive a formal reading, and this is Frank Como, spelled C-O-U-M-O-U, bar number 4577 in Las Vegas.
All right, thank you for that. All right. Let me go back. We have a bail hearing, it looks like, on behalf of Crystal. Is the state ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. We did reach out to the victim yesterday. Her name is Jacqueline, same last name. It is the defendant's sister. We were able to give her notice of today's hearing. I do not believe that she was going to be present. The state is asking you to leave the bail where it's currently set on the arrest warrant, which was $50,000 set by Judge Pearson. We believe that bail amount is appropriate based on the underlying nature of the offense, which does outline violence used by this defendant against her sister. The defendant has a fairly lengthy history. She's 39 years old and has spent a fairly significant time in our Nevada Department of Corrections. Starting in 2008 out of Las Vegas, she was convicted of robbery. Looks like robbery and conspiracy to commit robbery, several counts. She was paroled from that offense in 2000, or those offenses in 2013. We see in 2019, she picks up a gross misdemeanor conviction for taking or possessing a vehicle without consent, also out of the 8th Judicial District Court. She also suffers another felony conviction, this time for possession of a stolen motor vehicle. That was out of our court, the 2nd Judicial. She was sent to prison on that matter. 2021, she's convicted of a disorderly conduct back down in Las Vegas out of Henderson, Nevada. And then in 2024, she is convicted of the obtaining, possessing or selling or transferring document to establish false identity. That is the case that's out of Story County. She also went to prison on that case. That's how she was transferred back here on Friday, is being paroled on that case. She was sentenced to prison in September of 2024 on that matter. You can see that this offense is from May of 2024, so shortly before that offense. She also suffered a felony conviction for possession of a controlled substance out of Story County on that same sentencing date. I was able to look at her parole hearings. She had parole hearings for all of those offenses in 2010, 13, 15, two different hearings in 2015, again in 2016, 2019, 2020, and then 2025. So there's definitely some possible parole violations in there as well. It's just hard to tell from her criminal history. But again, she spent the majority of her adult life in prison. This offense is violent. The victim is not asking for a no contact order. She says the defendant did have drug issues prior to going to court and when this offense happened. So she hopes that she gets treatment for that drug addiction. Based on that, again, we're asking for the $50,000 to remain in place. We won't seek a no contact order, but we will ask for pretrial services supervision with testing for controlled substances.
You confirmed with Jacqueline, she does not want a no contact order,
Yes, Your Honor, that's what she told my investigator yesterday.
even given the facts of this case?
Yes, that's what she said. She said it's based on her drug and alcohol issues and they have had contact while she's been in prison.
Okay. All right, do we have a response?
Yes, you do, Your Honor. Your Honor, at 50,000, my client will not be able to bail out. Basically, she'll be left in custody because she will not be able to afford the 50,000. However, I do agree with the state that some type of bail should be set, and I'm going to ask that the court just impose $10,000. I think there's plenty of assurances for the court that Ms. Crystal Stratton will be present for any future court hearings. As pointed out by the state, she was just recently released on parole. And so she has a parole officer who certainly can maintain contact with her and will be maintaining contact with her. I personally reached out to the DA's office in Washoe County on several occasions. I was given the name of the DA who was originally assigned this case, and unfortunately, I never heard back, but I was in hopes of trying to have this matter resolved soon rather than later, since she was being paroled. She does have a case that she has been released on in Henderson Justice Court. So the court should know that Ms. Stroud-Snyder is currently also under the watchful eye of Judge DiGiacomo in Henderson Department 1. And Your Honor, I just want to point out that there was mention of Story County. Unfortunately, while my client was in Story County's custody, she was a victim of a serious crime where she is currently a witness for the state. And certainly she has all interest in making sure to show up to be a witness and active participant in that prosecution in the very near future. I want to point out that she does have a stable home right now. And so I do ask that we do not put any pretrial services restrictions on her because she has a partner. Her name's Carrie Field. She is living down here in Las Vegas, and that's where I expect my client to be living if she were to be released on this case. As pointed out, this case is violent. Unfortunately, it does involve a family member. But as the court just heard from the state, even the victim, who's my client's sister, is seeking no contact. She wants to have contact with her sister, and she's hoping that her sister is getting treatment. Should point out that while she has been in prison over here at Florence McClure, she has undergone several therapy sessions to address her drug issues. We hope that will continue while she's on parole. And Judge, with that said, I do ask that you consider reducing the bail to $10,000 just to assure that you'll be present. But I've listed out all the other reasons why I believe my client will not be a flight risk for your courtroom.
All right, Ms. Cost, I have a couple of questions.
Okay,
So this is a Cat B with the victim, so there'd be no 10% cash option, right?
yes, Your Honor.
Right. Right, and the warrant does have a no contact with the sister.
Yes, I'm sure Judge Pearson said that at the onset when the warrant was issued back in 2024, I believe.
All right. All right, I'm gonna adjust the bail. It's gonna be $25,000. No 10% cash option. Should be subject to residential confinement. Fitted before release with an ankle monitor. Shall not possess firearms or weapons. Should be subject to testing for drugs and alcohol. And what's the and should be supervised check-in with pretrial services. And what's the address that she's able to reside at?
Judge, unfortunately, I don't have that address with me.
Does your client know that address?
I believe so.
What's the address you could reside at, miss?
3684 El Toro Street, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89121.
So how do you spell El Toro? ALTORO?
No, it's EL space TORO.
Have that, Christine?
Yes, I do.
All right. And you must reside at that address, subject to pretrial supervision. All right,
But I have two different court dates. The next, it would be a mandatory status conference. We could do January 26th or January 27th at 1:30.
Can I do January 26th?
27th?
No, 26, 26.
This tracks to a Tuesday.
Okay.
If the state's okay with the 26th and the judges, I can do that.
I'm fine with 27. That may be easier.
Okay, then that'll be the next hearing date will be January 27th at 1:30.
Okay. And would you be so kind to tell me what department that is in?
It's Department 6.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you.
all right, the next individual is going to be Ronald Abbott, followed by Chad Augustin. All right, is state ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. State is seeking $5,000 bail for Mr. Abbott, along with pretrial services with a no firearms and testing clause for controlled substances. As the court can see, he comes in at a high on his risk assessment at a 13. He did get the maximum number of points for failures to appear, and he does currently have a contempt warrant out of Churchill County. His criminal history is fairly lengthy. He was arrested earlier this year for robbery. It looks like it got no issued and further investigation was requested. His last conviction was pedestrian under the influence in 2024 out of Reno Justice Court. He was placed on a suspended sentence for that case. He has a camping on public property case in 2024 out of Reno Municipal Court, which he failed to appear for his community court hearing and later admitted that contempt. He's got a contempt conviction in 2023 out of New River Township. He's got a conviction for a DUI out of that same county in 2021, or Justice Court, excuse me. Then he's got a felony conviction in 2020 for attempted own or possess a firearm by a prohibited person out of the 10th Judicial District Court. Felony conviction for assault, 4th degree out of Oregon in 2012. Misdemeanor assault out of Oregon in 2011. And then 2 more felony convictions back in 92 for burglary and 1987 for battery with substantial bodily harm. So the defendant does have fairly substantial criminal history and continues to violate. So for those reasons, we believe the lower amount of bail, $5,000, is appropriate.
Right, do we have a response?
Yes, Your Honor. I've talked with Mr. Abbott. He's not able to make any sort of bail, so he's requesting a release on his own recognizance. To support that request, he wanted to point out that this court has previously released him on his own recognizance and he showed up for court. So that would be his request again. He's willing to comply with any conditions this court imposes and would submit.
Yeah, but he scored a 2 with his FTAs. So I'm gonna set his bail at $5,000. Subject to testing, drugs and alcohol, shall not possess firearms or weapons, supervised check-ins with pretrial services, given his criminal history. All right, next is gonna be Chad Augustin, followed by Stefan Bonds.
Morning, Your Honor.
Morning. So is the state ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. The state, based on his low risk assessment and non-existent convictions, the state's going to not object to releasing him on his own recognizance. Based on having a firearm at issue in the charges, the state will ask for pretrial services, supervision with a no firearms or weapons clause.
All right, I would agree. That's exactly what I have on my JRO. Given the facts of the case as well as the risk assessment. All right, sir, so you're gonna be released. Shall not possess firearms or weapons. All right, and you have to check in with pretrial. Okay?
Yes.
All right, next is Stefan Bonds.
Morning, Your Honor.
Morning. All right, is the state ready to proceed with Mr. Bonds?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's seeking $50,000 with no 10% cash alternative based on the sex trafficking charge the defendant faces. We believe that bail is necessary along with the conditions of no contact with the victim of this case per condition of the case, meaning starting right now, as well as per statute if the defendant is to post bail for 120 days. We're also asking for a no weapons or firearm condition. I can tell you that the defendant was just convicted in August this year of felony credit card or debit card abuse out of Fort Worth, Texas. He was also convicted of battery in the presence of a child out of Sparks Municipal Court earlier this year. He was arrested on a robbery. It was dismissed at the time of prelim when the victim became uncooperative. That was against an ex-girlfriend of the defendant's. He was arrested for aggravated stalking, child abuse in 2023. Looks like it was eventually dismissed as well. Also a different, I believe, female victim who was uncooperative. And then he does have felony convictions in 2016 for getting credit out of California. He's got 2 different felony convictions for that, obtaining or using the credit of another, one in 2016, one in 2015, and then a misdemeanor conviction for theft in 2015. As you can see from the probable cause declaration, this is an ongoing crime that's been going on for some time with this named victim. So again, the state believes based on the nature of the offense, the inherent violence of that offense, and his higher MPRA score and criminal history, the $50,000 no alternative cash option is appropriate.
Okay, do we have a response?
Yes, Your Honor, we would be requesting that the bail be set at $10,000 bondable with that 10% cash option. We believe that his NPRA score should actually be a little bit lower. He scored as a 9, which would be a high, but we were able to get a hold of his brother Lamont Jones. He verified that our client has an address at 1205 South Meadows Parkway and that he's been there for 3 years. He also has confirmed that he's been employed as a barber, and he's confirmed that he does have a working phone number, which would reduce his NPRA score down to a 5, which would be a moderate risk. My client has children. When we look at the NPRA, he doesn't reflect any sort of failure to appears in the last 24 months. Mr. Bonds is willing to comply with any sort of conditions that this court imposes. He will show up for court. He has a local address, but he's not able to make the $50,000 bondable, especially if there's no 10% cash option. So that's why we are requesting the lower bond of $10,000 bondable with a 10% cash option, and would submit with that.
All right. Well, that's not gonna happen given on the facts of this case. Cause you had emotional coercion. You have a lot going on here. He did admit to his actions. He only said that he didn't view himself as a pimp. So given the concerns I have in the probable cause sheet, this bail is gonna be set at $40,000, no 10% cash option, no contact with the named victim, both by statute and order. Her name is Samara. If he's able to bail, he'll have residential confinement before release, shall not possess firearms or weapons, must reside at 1205 South Meadows Parkway, apartment C123. They have supervised check-ins with pretrial. Okay.
Bondable with conditions.
Next is David Brown. Followed by Thomas Kinney. And after McKinney, after Mr. McKinney, it'll be George Matthews.
Your Honor.
Right, good morning. Stay ready to proceed.
You're muted.
Sorry, the state seeking bail in the amount of $10,000 with pretrial services, supervision with a no contact order with the GSR. We believe that bail is appropriate based on his high risk assessment of 13, along with he does have a fairly lengthy criminal history. It looks like most revolve around misdemeanor convictions. Just this year, he was convicted of possession of drug paraphernalia and trespassing out of Sparks Justice Court, a separate battery offense out of Reno Justice Court. He has convictions for disturbing the peace, possession of drug paraphernalia, another trespassing, a contempt conviction, all in 2024, most of those out of Sparks Municipal Court. He has a misdemeanor conviction for violating a restraining order out of Reno Justice Court, in which he was given probation in 2024 and ultimately revoked. And his criminal history reads just like that. Same thing in 2023, 2021, ONR, obstructing and resisting convictions, disturbing the peace. He has one felony conviction back in 2016 for attempted theft out of the Second Judicial District Court. But based on the defendant's continued criminal activity, along with the information in this case and his high risk assessment, we're asking for the $10,000 with the previously asked for conditions.
Right, do we have a response?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Brown is requesting a release on his own recognizance. We were able to talk to Kristen, who verified that he has an address in Reno at 205 Silver Lake Road in apartment 101. She verified that he's been there for about a year. She also verified that he's been employed doing DoorDash, and my client has provided information that he's supposed to start at The Spot, which is a restaurant where he will be a line cook. He has a 2-year-old son, and he is requesting a release on his own recognizance. He's willing to do any conditions that this court imposes. And with that additional information, that would reduce his 13 arguably down to a 10, and would submit with that, Your Honor.
All right, so that was one of the questions I was gonna ask. You did verify his address.
Correct, Your Honor. Yes.
But I'm gonna set his bail at $5,000, no contact with the GSR, 2500 East Second Street. If be subject to testing, shall not possess firearms or weapons. He must reside at 205 Silver Lake Road, 101. And he'll have supervised check-ins with pretrial services. All right. Next is Thomas Kinney.
I have the victim on the case.
I just had to walk that way.
Coming in right
Yeah.
now. She's-
Morning, Your Honor.
Morning. State ready, or not? Do we have the victim online?
Yes, Your Honor, she's on.
Okay, is the state ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, state's seeking $50,000 with no 10% cash alternative based on this category B domestic battery third offense. State, as far as conditions, we are asking for pretrial services supervision along with a no contact order with the victim for 60 days. We'd also ask for no firearms or weapons, and we would ask for house arrest and GPS prior to release. I see that the victim is here. I can tell you that we did speak with her prior to court. I believe she wants to make a statement to the court. She's not seeking a no contact order. However, the state believes it is absolutely necessary. As you can see, the violence escalating in this incident. His criminal history, well, first of all, he is a 7 on the risk assessment. However, pretrial services rightly overrode that score based on the same victim in previous cases. We know that he was convicted in 2024 of domestic battery. That was a second offense. He was actually charged with a felony in that case. He was given the chance of veterans court, specialty court. He was successful during the pendency of that matter. He was honorably discharged just in August of this year, and that felony went away, but he did plead guilty to the domestic battery second. Same victim in that case. In 2023, convicted of domestic battery first out of Sparks Municipal Court. I assume that's the same victim. I don't have access to those records, so I can't tell you for sure. He was also convicted that year of obscene, immoral, indecent act out of Reno Justice Court. He was ordered to undergo DV counseling and obey all laws for 12 months. He's also convicted of DUI in 2021. He was arrested at the same time on domestic battery strangulation. Those charges did not move forward, but he was convicted on the DUI. Then he has a felony conviction for possession of a controlled substance out of the Second Judicial District Court. He had several pretrial violations. He received specialty court in that case initially. He was later removed and then finally discharged from probation in 2020. So it's very clear that the defendant has some substantial issues, not only with controlled substances or alcohol, but also with anger specifically towards this victim. You can see in the probable cause declaration, there are children who live in this home and unfortunately have seen the violence, not only in this incident, but I'm sure in past incidents. So based on that, we do believe the higher bail is appropriate. This is a mandatory prison sentence. And we are asking for the no contact order for a minimum of 60 days in order to have a cool down period at the very minimum. Hopefully the victim would seek a no contact order through the court system, but it doesn't sound like she's going to do that. But I will submit it on that.
And what was the amount the state was asking for?
$50,000 with no 10% cash alternative.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought you said 15. Okay. Do we have a response?
Yes, Your Honor, we would be requesting a reduction of bail to $10,000 bondable with a 10% cash option. In talking with my client, we were able to talk with his mother, Mary. She confirmed that my client can stay with her at 3670 Jacobs Court in Washoe Valley. It's my understanding that the alleged victim in this case is living in the home, and this address that we've given you is a separate address from that home. So he will not be having contact with the victim or living with this alleged victim. We verified employment at King B Construction. He's a part owner there, and he's been a part owner for 1.5 years. We've also verified that he has a working phone number. His mother believes that some sort of pretrial testing may be necessary to ensure that he's staying sober. And with that, we would request a $10,000 bondable amount. We do not believe he's able to make the $50,000.
All right. And is it Lindsay Stetcher?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, what do you want to tell me, Lindsay?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. First, I would like to make note that my children did not see any violence. CPS did speak to them, myself, and Thomas, as I'm aware. But I do have a statement prepared that I would like to go forward with. So, as it stated, hi, I'm Lindsay Stetcher. I'm Tommy's ex-wife.
Hold on, Lindsay, before you start.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, typically I don't take statements.
Well, I
I'd like
had to
s-
write something, so
Okay, all right, so how long is your statement?
it's not very long.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, for the last year and a half plus, since the prior incident, Tommy and I have rebuilt something really beautiful. And he ran a perfect program out of vet school, and he was the healthiest he had ever been. And I want that to be really recognized as we are talking about this, because not a single terrible incident or fight has occurred up until this from the last event. And as with the others, this was completely due to the mental health status and substance use issues and declination, and the inabilities to keep boundaries set forth between us while this occurs. And with his TBI, it becomes very escalated very quickly. And he does incredibly well with structure and guidance. And I truly did not think this was going to happen again. I would have never put anybody in this position. And as a licensed clinician and social worker, I understand all of these pieces. And this was definitely the most traumatic incident we've ever had. And I know that for the both of us, we truly are understood, and this has solidified the pieces that we are no longer able to reside in the home together. And that's heartbreaking. Yesterday was Tommy's birthday, and it was hard for our family. We were supposed to leave for Disneyland. And he is the breadwinner, and I need him to be released on the fact that he provides every financial piece for this family. When he's under guidance and supervision, I do not feel like I am in danger. He's run a perfect program. He has been healthy. And because this has occurred, it is very well aware that we cannot be together in any capacity. My daughter drew him a birthday card, and it's of Superman. And this is how I want my children to maintain their relationship with their dad. Tommy and I are both incredibly aware that our relationship will not maintain that. And it is volatile. And I do not think a no contact is appropriate. We need the financial assistance. As long as he is healthy, he needs to be able to speak to his children. They are incredibly in the dark and unaware of everything that is happening right now. And a no contact will make that incredibly difficult. I understand the supervision pieces, but there has never been an issue in which we are residing in different spaces while he is under structure that I believe makes this an outcome that needs to happen. He does everything for our family right now. And as I'm re-entering the workforce, rebuilding a company of my own, and figuring out where my children are going into a new home, it is important for us to be in communication on that. Tommy is a good dad. He has mental health issues. He has a TBI. He has substance abuse issues. And I can no longer be someone who is constant, because that is the reason this has happened. I am the constant. I am the one that has helped and saved and everything else. And that hope has been lost. But the hope for my children to maintain the idea that their dad is Superman still exists. And Tommy and I's only goal going forward is them, and maintaining that version for them. And I understand this is difficult, and I understand this has happened, and this has been this has been terrible for us, but it has solidified our future together. So please understand all of those pieces. I'm done.
Yeah, I do understand those pieces. But at the same time, I have to make sure your safety. You may think that, but you've even testified that he does good if it's structural. So I'm not taking any chances. I will reduce his bail to $25,000, no 10% cash option. He will have no contact with 1820 Severn Drive and you for a period of 60 days, both by statute and by order. He'll be subject to residential confinement, fitted before release. In the event that he posts, he'll be subject to testing, shall not possess firearms or weapons. He must reside at 3670 Jacob Court, and he'll be subject to pretrial services. All right, I'll make a note to this. If he's able to transfer to mental health court or another specialty court to provide supervision, then I would agree to something like that if the next judge deals with this case. All right, but I can't take any chances, miss. So that's gonna be my order.
I understand.
You have a good day.
You as well.
All right, how about Thomas Kinney followed by George Matthews?
25,000 bondable. We just did Thomas Kinney, Your Honor.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Let me get him off my table here.
Morning, Your Honor.
Morning. All right, let's do Mr. Matthews.
Your Honor, the state is not going to object to an owner cognizance release. We are seeking pretrial services supervision along with testing for alcohol, and we would ask for a DUI rant to be completed on this DUI first arrest.
Actually, let me just check my notes. Mr. Matthews. They were able to verify his phone and his employment. Were you able to verify his address?
Your Honor, we were able to verify his address. We talked with Christina Monroe, who verified his address is 339 West First Street in Reno, Nevada. We've also verified employment at Lightning Auctions and verified a phone number.
All right. All right, so Mr. Matthews is going to be released. All right, they'll be subject to testing. Shall not possess firearms or weapons, given his risk assessment. He'll have a DUI rant to be completed. He'll also must reside at that address at 339 West First Street, apartment number 210. They'll have supervised check-ins with DAS. All right, how about
Thank you.
Ariana Nicholson, followed by Dion Bayan.
Your Honor, Miss Nicholson is not feeling well. We would ask for a one-day continuance.
All right, does the state object?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So she can be brought tomorrow. All right,
Morning.
how about Dion? Bayan or Bayan?
Yes, sir, that's me.
All right, followed by Tabitha Shelley. But we have two matters. All right, Dion. Is the state ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, the state's seeking $10,000 on the eluding matter, and then an additional $10,000 with no 10% cash alternative on the discharging a firearm from a vehicle, which is a Category B offense involving a firearm. We're also asking for pretrial services supervision with a no firearms or weapons clause and to stay away from the apartment complex where the defendant and the co-defendant discharged that firearm. The state believes that those two bail amounts are necessary based on, again, he has a moderate risk assessment score at 7, but he's only 18 years old. So the court will not be surprised to hear that he doesn't have a lengthy criminal history as an adult. He did suffer a conviction, which is the 1 point on his risk assessment for reckless driving in July of this year. When I looked at that case out of Reno Municipal Court, the defendant was driving 107 miles per hour on Veterans Parkway. He began weaving in and out of traffic. Once law enforcement turned their car around to stop him, he eventually did stop. It did not result in an eluding like this case. But certainly his driving was very inappropriate and dangerous to our community. And now here we are back again within a few months. He is again driving in a very reckless manner, this time actually eluding from police officers after a shooting or after discharging a firearm into an apartment complex. So at this point, the defendant does pose a risk of safety to our community. So we are asking for those lower bail amounts based on his lack of significant criminal history, but also taking into consideration his age. So for a total of 20, they will be combined eventually when we charge him. So it will be a total of $20,000 with the no 10% cash alternative.
Right, I didn't see any drug use or substance abuse in his history. Is that accurate?
Yep, no arrest or convictions related to that, Your Honor.
All right, do we have a response?
Yes, Your Honor. We were able to talk to my client's father. His client or my client's father verified that he'd be living at 1608 Gemtown Drive in Reno, Nevada. He's been there his whole life. He just graduated high school. He's very young. He's 18 years old. He's trying to get into the electrical field. He's applied at the union. We have a phone number where he can be reached at. And I think the reality is his dad thinks that he might be hanging around with the wrong crowd. He's not a bad kid. He's a good kid. He's going to comply with any requirements that this court imposes. And it sounds like we've got his dad to make sure that he's going to do everything that he needs to do. We are hoping that you look at this and release him on his own recognizance, knowing that with his youthful age, you know, I don't exactly know what was going on here, but I think his youth could have played a role in some of the decision making. And with that release on his own recognizance, we could set up a plan of how we're going to proceed and make sure that he continues on that drive of wanting to go into that electrical field and getting that to be successful. And with that would submit, Your Honor.
Okay. Given the facts of this case, bail is appropriate. It'll be $5,000 or 10% on the eluding case. Nevada shall not possess firearms or weapons. All right, he'll have supervised check-ins with pretrial services. He must reside at 1608 Gemtown Drive. With respect to the firearm charge, that is concerning, so that bail will be set at 10,000, no 10% cash option, no firearm, no possession of firearms or weapons. And I'm assuming Ms. Casso on the no contact order was that with Damian Rich and 2650 Plumas?
It was really, that's fine, Your Honor, with Mr. Rich. I was just looking for the apartment complex address where he and the co-defendant discharged the firearm.
Yeah, I didn't see it unless I missed it.
I'm assuming it's got to be that same address because that is where the incident took place. So 2650 Plumas Street, we would ask for it to stay away as well.
Okay. All right, so those will be the conditions. All right.
You gotta talk to your parents.
All right, you put it there. That one then I have to go over.
Okay.
All right. All right, next is Tabitha Shelley.
Yes,
All right.
Good morning.
Followed by Soto.
good morning.
Okay. Good morning. Is the court ready to proceed?
State is ready, Your Honor. We're not going to be objecting to a known recognizance release for Ms. Shelley. She scores moderate on the risk assessment. I realized that she came in with those 2 warrants, but they are, I couldn't even find them in Reno Municipal Court. They're associated to some citations that are older in 2023, it looks like. She does have a citation pending in Reno Municipal Court for related to this offense, but other than that, I don't show any other failures to comply. So we are asking or recommending an own recognizance release. We would ask for pretrial services with testing based on the amount of controlled substances located.
All right. Unless there's an objection, she's gonna be released. Drug and alcohol testing, supervised check-ins with pretrial services. All right. You have a good day, miss. Next is Uriel Soto.
Good morning.
Morning. All right, we have two for Mr. Soto. How does the state want to proceed?
Your Honor, we did make attempts to reach out to the victim and provided her the time of the bail hearing, so we are ready to go forward. We are seeking $10,000 on the possession of a controlled substance, probable cause, and then $25,000 with no 10% cash alternative on the residential burglary and domestic battery first matter. We believe those bails are necessary. First of all, with conditions on the residential burg, we would ask for a no contact order pursuant to a court order, as well as release per statute for 120 days with this victim. We'd also ask for a house arrest and GPS device prior to release, and then testing for controlled substances, as well as a no firearms or weapons clause. All of those conditions the state believes are necessary, but still don't mitigate this defendant's risk. As you can see, he scores a 12 on the risk assessment. He was just arrested, it looks like in early 2024 for a domestic battery against this very same victim. It was dismissed without prejudice, most likely because the victim became uncooperative. He was convicted of disturbing the peace in 2024. That was down from a domestic battery with the same victim that was out of Reno Justice Court. He was convicted in 2022 of a felony conviction for battery causing substantial bodily harm. That was a separate victim, a male victim. He was given a suspended sentence and probation. He was dishonorable. Looks like he was dishonorably discharged from that case. He also suffered convictions for possession of drug paraphernalia that same year, and he did have a failure to appear associated with that case. He has numerous convictions for possession of drug paraphernalia in 2021, another felony conviction in 2020 for taking a vehicle without the owner's consent out of California. He got probation. It was later revoked. He's got another felony in 2016 for accessory to robbery out of California. He got probation. It was later revoked in 2018. And then he has a petty theft in 2015, a possession of a controlled substance, both of those out of California, another felony, this time for grand theft and burglary and possession of a controlled substance. And finally has a misdemeanor conviction for violation of a gang injunction back in 2013 out of California. Again, he received probation and it was later revoked. So the defendant has fairly lengthy criminal history for being 34 years old. He continues to terrorize and victimize this exact same victim. So the state believes that bail and those conditions are necessary for community safety.
All right, do we have a response?
Yes, Your Honor. In talking with Mr. Soto, he has access to $1,000. We would ask for $1,000 cash bail on these cases, or if you would consider $10,000 bondable with the 10% cash option. Mr. Soto gave us references. We've reached out to them and left voicemails, but we were not able to connect with them this morning. But pretrial services did confirm that Mr. Soto works as an electrician for a union. It's my understanding that if released, Mr. Soto intends to live with his girlfriend and she would have access to a phone. So taking into consideration that we are requesting the $1,000 cash or $10,000 bondable with the 10% cash option.
Well, with respect to the drug charge, That bail is gonna be set at $1,000 or 10% cash option. No drugs or alcohol. Shall not possess firearms or weapons. Supervised check-ins with pretrial. However, on the residential burglary, domestic battery, first, given the history in this case and the prior acts of domestic violence with the same victim, his bail is going to be set at 25,000, no 10% cash option, no contact with the named victim, which is Samantha Largent at 133 Virginia Street at the Nevadan. Residential confinement before release, subject to testing, shall not possess firearms or weapons, supervised check-ins with pretrial services. Again, given the facts of this case. Right. Next is Angel Valdez, followed by Dale Goodman.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, is the state ready to proceed with respect to Mr. Valdez?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, based on his moderate risk assessment and no criminal convictions, the state's not going to object to releasing him on his own recognizance. We are seeking pretrial services supervision based on the firearm at issue in the case with a no weapons or firearms clause.
And let me just confirm with the public defender. Court services was not able to verify his address. Were you able to do that?
Yes, Your Honor, we talked to Kimberly. She verified that he lives at 1346 Butler Street in Reno, Nevada. He's lived there his whole life, and she also confirmed that he has a phone number.
All right. So he will be released, shall not possess firearms or weapons, must reside at 1346 Butler Street, and he'd be subject to supervised check-ins with pretrial services. All right, sir, so you're gonna be released. All right,
Okay,
just
thank you.
comply with your conditions. All right,
Thank you.
all right,
Okay, thank you.
all right. So it looks like the next individual is Dale Goodman. All right, is the state ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, again, based on his moderate risk assessment score and only pending case he has right now is a citation out of Reno Municipal Court for defrauding a proprietor. The state's not going to object to an own recognizance release. We are seeking pretrial services, supervision, along with testing for both alcohol and controlled substances, as well as a DUI rant.
All right, just bear with me as I check one issue in my notes. So they were unable to verify employment, but what's important to me, does he have a place to live?
Your Honor, we left a message for his father, Kevin. It's my understanding that that's where he would be planning to live, but we weren't able to get a hold of him. And it's my understanding that there's possible work as a mechanic if he's released, but we weren't able to verify that through anything other than our client informing us of this information.
All right. All right, so the OR release will be granted, subject to alcohol and testing for drugs. Must obtain a DUI rant and supervised check-ins with pretrial. All right.
Okay. Thank you,
You
sir.
have a good day.
You too.
All right, so based on my notes, is it accurate? Do we only have one individual left in the courtroom?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, I need Francisco Charamello to come up.
Francisco Jaramillo.
Buenos días, señoría.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is Jimena Fini, certified court interpreter Spanish, NVFXP 610.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Interpreter.
You're welcome, Judge.
All right, so how does the state want to proceed with these three cases? Please interpret.
¿Cómo quieren proceder con estas tres causas?
The state is ready to proceed, Your Honor.
La fiscalía está lista para proceder, su señoría.
The
We're gonna
state,
take them individually or we're gonna take them collectively?
Lo vamos a hacer de a uno colectivo.
I can tell the court that they will be charged in one criminal complaint, but I can divide up my bail ask if that is the court's request.
That would be
Yo le
appropriate.
puedo decir entonces de que lo vamos a poner con un escrito de los documentos acusatorios en uno, pero también puedo sí yo desglosar lo que es la fianza.
Which one do you want to do first, Ms. Costa?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Judge. Did you say divide them up?
Yes, and which one do you want to do first? Please interpret.
Que lo van a dividir entonces, primero van a empezar como
So, Judge, I have them broken down by victim. So the first one, it's going to be the same facts for every single one. So I can certainly argue them all at once and just break down the bail amounts.
That's
Mire, le voy a
perfect.
decir de que son todas las víctimas, lo que primero vamos a decir que es lo mismo por cada uno, así es que voy a tratar de yo entonces desglosar lo que va a ser el monto de la fianza.
So for the 3 counts of sexual assault on a child under the age of 14, the state is seeking $350,000 with no 10% cash alternative.
Ok, para los 3 cargos de agresión sexual con una menor de 14 años de edad, vamos a pedir $350,000 no tenga la alternativa de poder pagar la fianza con el 10%.
For the lewdness with a child under 14, 2 counts, the state is also seeking $350,000 with no 10% cash alternative.
Por el cargo de lascivia con una menor de 14 años, que son 2 cargos, también vamos a pedir los $350,000 y que tampoco tenga la alternativa de poder pagar en efectivo el 10%.
And for the most recent violation, 1 count of lewdness with a minor under 14, the state is seeking $300,000 with no 10% cash alternative for a total combined bail of $1 million.
Y por el cargo más reciente, que es un cargo de lascivia con una menor de edad, vamos a pedir entonces una fianza de $300,000. Tampoco va a poder tener la alternativa de pagar el 10% en dinero en efectivo por un total de $1 millón.
As to conditions on each case, the state is seeking a no contact order per condition of the court as well as per statute.
Bueno, entonces vamos a pedir por cada uno de los casos que haya una orden de no contacto y esta que sea una condición tanto judicial como del estatuto.
Which would entail the 3 named victims in the probable cause declarations.
Que esto lleva entonces la causa probable, las declaraciones y los 3 nombres de las víctimas.
As well as on the CS, I'm going to refer to her as CS, the Carly Sanchez Garcia CS case, the state is also asking for a no contact with her mother, who is Yadira Garcia.
También es con las iniciales CS, que es Carly Sánchez García. Vamos a pedir también una orden de alejamiento con Yadira García, que es la madre.
As well as her sister, Alexa Garcia.
También como con su hermana Alexa García.
And the state is also seeking a no contact with Ana Lopez, who is the mother of AR.
Tampoco que haya ningún tipo de contacto con Ana López, que es la madre de la víctima de iniciales AR.
And I can Teams or email all of those names to the court clerk if it's necessary.
Si es necesario, yo le puedo mandar todo eso por correo electrónico a la actuaria.
Are those the final conditions, Ms. Costello?
¿Son esas las condiciones finales, señora Caso?
No, we are also seeking house arrest and GPS prior to release.
No, vamos a pedir también arresto domiciliario y grillete si es que llega a salir en libertad.
And also an order not to leave the state of Nevada during the pendency of the case.
Y también, durante el tiempo que dure este caso, que no pueda salir del estado de Nevada.
Those conditions and that bail are necessary based on, as the court can see, the conduct of the defendant over many years.
Como usted puede ver, esta estas condiciones son necesarias y también la fianza debido a la conducta en los años que ha incluido esta persona.
The number of vulnerable victims outlined in these probable cause declarations.
El número de víctimas vulnerables fijadas acá en estas declaraciones.
We know that the defendant scores moderate on the risk assessment at a 5.
Sabemos que él salió con un puntaje de 5 en la evaluación de riesgo, que es moderado.
I show his only prior conviction is for an uncared for animal in 2022 misdemeanor.
Vemos de que el único caso anterior que él tenía era porque había descuidado a un animal, que esto fue un delito menor en el 2022.
However, based on the nature of the offense and the possible sentence,
Sin embargo, basándose en los tipos de delitos y la posible condena,
which are multiple life sentences,
que son múltiples cadenas perpetuas,
which would ensure the defendant never gets out of prison.
que
if
aseguraría de que él, si llega a ser condenado, nunca saldría de prisión,
if convicted.
si es que es condenado.
The state believes that plays very heavy into the defendant's flight risk in this case.
Eso es algo que es bastante para considerar que pueda ser él esté en peligro de huida en este caso.
And it is very common in these types of cases where the defendants flee the jurisdiction in order to avoid the penalties.
Es muy común que en este tipo de casos los victimarios se escapan ya para no confrontar las consecuencias de esto.
The very large community safety risk this defendant presents
Este acusado presenta un grave riesgo para la seguridad de la comunidad,
which demands an extremely high bail for these offenses.
que nos pide de que nosotros pongamos una fianza bastante elevada en este caso.
We did reach out to the victims in this case.
Nosotros sí tratamos de contactar a las víctimas de este caso.
And we were able to speak to one of the family members.
Y pudimos hablar con uno de los familiares de una de las víctimas.
This was Yadira,
Esta era Yadira,
who is the mother of CS,
que es la madre de CS,
who did ask for a no contact order as for the mother and the sister and the victim.
que pidió una orden de no contacto para la madre, la hermana y la víctima.
And they did convey and want the court to know that they are in fear for their safety.
Y querían que le dijéramos al juez que ellas temen por su seguridad.
They said the defendant has been seen driving around their residence for unknown reasons.
Que le han dicho de que han visto a el acusado manejar por el lugar donde ellos viven sin ninguna razón aparente.
And overall wanted to express her fear of the defendant.
Y en general quieren expresar el temor que le tienen al acusado.
And I will submit it on that, Your Honor.
Y con eso lo dejo a su criterio, su señoría.
All right, do we have a response?
¿Tenemos respuesta?
Your Honor, a limited response. In
Yeah.
talking with my client, he's unable to make any sort of bail, and we would submit with that information.
Sería limitado, su señoría. Mi cliente me ha dicho de que él no puede pagar ningún tipo de fianza, así es que con eso lo presentamos.
Okay, so I may have you send over a list of those conditions, Ms. Casso, and make sure they reconcile with mine. I'm gonna go on the record with what I have. I have a no contact order on each case by statute and condition. All right. I also have house arrest. Did not have leave the state, which now that is included. All right, 350,000, no 10% cash option on the 3 sexual assaults. 300,000, no 10% cash option on the lewdness with the minor. And 350,000, no 10% cash option, lewdness of the minor, which was the 2 counts. Also no contact with the victims in this case. I have CS, I have Alexa. Also had Ms. Paula Cervantes. Did you have her?
Yes, Your Honor, we are seeking for the 3 victims were Paulina Cervantes, Arias Rivera, I believe is her
Yeah,
name.
AR.
Ok, voy a enviar entonces la lista de esas condiciones que vayan a ser, que concuerden con las mías. Va a haber una orden de no contacto en cada uno de los casos y esto será por ley, por el estatuto. Usted, si llega a ser que pueda pagar esta fianza, va a estar en arresto domiciliario y no puede salir del estado. Esa es una de las otras condiciones. Son $350,000. No va a tener la alternativa de poder pagar el 10% en los 3 casos de agresión sexual. 300,000 por el caso de lascivia. Tampoco con el 10% de alternativa. 350,000 dólares, no puede tener la alternativa de pagar el 10%, también el cargo de 2 cargos de lascivia con una menor de edad, y también no puede tener contacto con la víctima de iniciales CS, Alexa y Paulina Cervantes.
Yes, so Paulina Cervantes, Ane Rivera, and Carly Sanchez Garcia are the 3 victims.
Ok,
Please
las
interpret.
3 víctimas son Paulina Cervantes, Anne Rivera, Carly Sánchez García.
I also had 444 Robert Street, 145. I'll have to check my notes, but I think it's 145 Surge Street. Please interpret.
Ok, yo también tengo acá un 444 Robert Street y un 145 creo, no sé si es Sarge o Search.
And 5593 Chocolate Drive. Please interpret.
I'm so sorry, the interpreter did not hear the address 559.
I'm sorry, 559, excuse me, 5593 Chocolate Drive in Sun Valley.
Ok, y también tengo la dirección del 5593 Chocolate Drive en Sun Valley.
Yes, those
So
were
I also,
all 3 of the
Okay.
addresses, and it was Surge, Surge Street.
all
Sí,
right,
esas son las 3 direcciones y la dirección es Surge, Surge.
right, so those will be the conditions in this case.
Ok, esas van a ser las condiciones de esta causa.
Is there anything further?
¿Hay algo más?
I do not believe so, Your Honor.
No lo creo, su señoría.
No, Your
How
Honor.
about, all right, you'll have a good weekend.